You're listening to Mitnik's Monthly Brushstrokes, a podcast on the art of outsmarting, the fun part that sets you apart. I'm Keith Mitnik, author of Don't Eat the Bruises, How to Foil Their Plans to Spoil Your Case. For more information, please visit keithmitnik.com. In this podcast, I want to talk about a couple new developments in voir dire questions. I won't go back to the whole system of voir dire and using things like pie eating contests and things. I'm going to really cut to the chase and just throw a couple things that developed since the last podcast that I think are very helpful. One thing I've worried about for years, we voir dire the juror in the courtroom, but what about the spouse at home who we don't ask a question about? What if the spouse at home hates personal injury lawsuits, hates malpractice cases, and they're the kind of spouse that's going to exert their influence? And I worry, even though they're told not to talk, that lots of folks go home and talk to their spouse. So I've designed a question in voir dire to deal with that concern. It goes like this. Now, I've been asking you folks a lot of questions about your feelings, your biases, things you have feelings against. But you know what I haven't asked is about your spouse, and some of y'all are married. And here's my question. None of y'all are going to be allowed to talk to your spouse during this trial. The judge is going to tell you can't. But as soon as the verdict comes in, you go home, you're able to talk about it. And most times the spouse then goes, well, tell me what happened. And here's my concern. If you have a spouse at home who may have strong feelings against some of these issues, like a personal injury lawsuit or pain and suffering damage or large verdict like we talked about, and you have the type of relationship that you don't want to disappoint your spouse. So I need to ask you, how many of you have a spouse at home that you know, as you sit here, they have some strong feelings against these very subjects if they were here to answer? And further, I'm going to ultimately ask you whether you have the type of relationship that their disappointment might unintentionally have an influence over you here in this case. Not on purpose, but your best honest answer is you try not, but it really might. Does everyone understand? And then I gather that information. That is a really good way to do it. Here's another quick one. A lot of us don't want engineers. Not always. I take engineers from time to time. But generally, we don't want them. Why? Because we all say they want more proof than we'll ever be able to get them. It's their exact minds. Well, we all know, if you think about it, there are a lot of other engineering minds that didn't go to engineering school. So how do you ask that question? How do you find out who has an engineering mind and have that same potential trap that you want to know about? I've got a good way to do it. I need to know, some people feel that they are fine in making big decisions, even if all the pieces don't add up perfectly, so long as the big picture makes sense to them. And I would call those people big picture people. Other people say, you know what? I need everything in a night to add up in a nice, neat bow, or I'm uncomfortable making an important decision. And I call those people precision people or devils in the detail people. So would you consider yourself, and then I go down the line, more of a devils in the detail person? And I'm not suggesting you could never make a decision without every piece, but that's more your personality. And I'm not suggesting to those of you that are big picture people that you don't like the details, just talking about what more defines your personality. Are you more of a devil's in the detail person, or are you more of a big picture person? You've just identified those people are going to really not be comfortable with the greater weight of the evidence, more likely right than wrong burden. They're going to want something closer to beyond a reasonable doubt. So a couple fresh new thoughts for you to use in voir dire. For more information, please visit keithmitnik.com.